back to the rugby we go. Alan Quinlan, good morning.
Morning, lads. How are you?
Good. Thanks for being patient and waiting on the line there. Let's get straight into it on the Heineken Cup, Quinny, if we can. The format of this thing looks so weird. It's almost so weird as to be hard to understand. Why haven't we gone back to the pools of 4 teams?
I don't know that. I'm not on one of the decision makers in the EPCR. I think, a lot of people are commenting on the format and saying it's confusing, and we've 12 teams, you've 24 teams, 12 in 2 pools, and the top 8 from each pool go into the knockout stages, round 16 game, and you're ranked according to points scored, where you finish, matches won, all that kind of stuff as to where those games are on in the round 16. I don't know. I think it's I'm a massive lover of the European Cup. I've great memories from it. It's a very, very special competition. You hear lots of players this week talking about it being a different training week. There's a different buzz around each camp, if you like, going into Europe, and it's really intriguing. You're playing against. You're going out of your comfort zone here. You're going into a different sort of challenge for teams and players individually, playing against more quality pack squads and playing different teams around Europe. So it's a great competition, always has been. But there's part of me would love to see the smaller pools go back to its original format. It was originally reduced from 24 to 20. Back out to 24, because of COVID, and they've stuck with this format. It's still a great competition, and I'm always very wary and careful of criticising, because I love the European Cup. But if I was one of the decision makers, I would certainly look to go back to the pool stage, the original pool stage, where you had 4 teams in a pool, and you had 6 rounds. And I know the original format had 6 rounds, then a quarter-final, semi-final, final. That was nine matches to win it. We're now at 8 matches. They've got a free weekend for the first time. The round 16s were back-to-back games last year, so we're gone back to 8 weekends basically, and there's a free weekend there. And I know player welfare and the top 14 and Gallagher Premiership welcome that, because getting an extra break or an extra week. But for me, the old system was, and it's risky territory, because a lot of people speak about this online, and I think if EPCR asked the fans what would they want, possibly the old format. But it is what it is. It's up and running again this weekend, and it is exciting. And at least we still have the back-to-back games.
The double headers.
In round 2 and 3.
Not everybody's a fan of the introduction to South African teams either. Antoine Dupont wasn't too shy about coming out this week to say that he's finding it hard to grasp, I think was the words that he used, about them being involved. Fair point for you, or move on?
No, I think since they came into the URC, and I think they've been great for it, the quality has improved of the competition, the competitiveness of it, and it's alerted everybody else to their quality and what they can do. And you look what the Stormers did last year, the Bulls. So I think it's what he's saying is he kind of said, which was, I don't know if he was having a dig at the competition or the South Africans coming in, but he was saying it's not a European Cup now if there's South African teams in. But I have less problem with that than the format. As I said, if you ask me, would I go back? I'd love to go back to the older format. The intrigue of that, where you have your six pool games, and the quality of that, and the bite of that week after week. But he has a point. But they're in the URC and they've qualified on merit now, and I think, it's just strange. It's something new, and we have to be adaptable to change. Look at it, see how it goes. But it's a great opportunity for South African teams to play play all these European teams and play in an enhanced higher grade competition. So I don't have a problem with that, but I can understand from a player's point of view that, traditionally you'd be, the flights would be short, the travel wouldn't be that bad. You'd be going to France, UK, vice versa, or back. And now some teams are going to South Africa for round one. So it's a little bit different, all right.
Quinny, Adrian mentions Antoine Dupont, of course, one of the players who's had a red card reversed and is free to play in Munster. Cian Healy being another notable one as well. Bit of bewilderment, I guess, in the game when you're seeing all these reversals. Like, do we know what constitutes foul play in rugby right now?
Well, I always thought the Cian Healy one was a hard call on him. Letter of the law, the contact was there, and I kind of, you have to be very careful in these decisions, Shane, because you can go with your goal letter of the law every time, and I've been very proactive and don't have a lot of tolerance for high shots, particularly the forward impact that you have the last kind of point of contact where the defending player is moving forward in an aggressive manner. You're always in a risky situation when you're upright like that. But I think, and I understand why it's been overturned, because he's accepted the tackle. And I see some people speaking online and talking about it, that it's wrong and how are we going to progress forward. I think the clarity is there that there was a change of height from both players. I know he has to be the one, the onus is on him to get his technique right. But for me, and I always look at it, it's the last surge forward. Cian Healy doesn't drive forward. He more accepts the tackle, and that's where the mitigation is in it for me. So if it was a yellow card on last Saturday night, I would have said that was probably the right call. Of course, you'll have so much debate ongoing, and we have to protect the players for sure. But when you're accepting a tackle, and we saw Andrew Porter get away with one over the summer in New Zealand, with his tackle on Brodie Retallick, where it was more of an accepting tackle. And the week before, we saw Angus Ta'avo, his collision with Gary Ringrose, where he's moving forward at the last minute. And that's where you're getting the mitigation here, when the video angles were really analysed and studied. And it's kind of, for the referee, Christoph Ridley, he's making a really quick decision with his TMO. I thought, and it didn't surprise me that it's overturned, basically. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. We'll stick with the Munster-Toulouse game, Quinny, on since Dupont has become talking about Sunday 3:15. This one in Thomond Park. What's your sense of, like, speaking about Dupont specifically, and obviously always the conversation is how do you stop him? They obviously have a coach now, Munster, who's been involved maybe more than most in trying to stop him over the last couple of years, and Mike Prendergast. What's your sense of maybe that aspect of it, and the challenge for Munster here against one of the top teams in Europe?
How do you stop him, is it?
Yeah.
It's very difficult. I think it's a bit like, I suppose, England playing France tomorrow night. How do you stop Mbappe? And a lot of the English players this week have been asked that question. It's difficult because he's such a wonderful player, and it's not just in his attacking game. I think he makes so many brilliant tackles and puts so much pressure defensively with his line speed, and he's a very physical player, and he's a great tackler as well. So not alone does he, make unbelievable line breaks, he defends and he saves Toulouse at times. If somebody gets in behind him, he's always sweeping around there, making tackles. And look, they've unbelievable quality right across the board. I think they've so much depth in their squad, so much power, and he can play off the back of usually a very, very dominant physical pack of forwards. So, but he's a natural talent. I think he just plays. He's a great reader of the game, and he just plays with a freedom, and he wants people to react to him. So I think if you're playing with Antoine Dupont, you're every time he gets the ball, I think as a support player, you're just thinking, this guy is going to do something special. I got to get on his shoulder. but he's reading in the game as well. If somebody else makes a line break, he's just there. His support lines are brilliant. And so how do you stop him? I think you've got to try and, if you focus too much on him and your own, you just have to get your whole team to be really alert every time he touches the ball. Because if you shoot out of the line to try and smash him and think, God, I'm going to get a big tackle in here, he'll step you, or he'll pop a little ball off or offload back inside or whatever. So I think you just got to be very disciplined in your defence and very mindful that he runs that inside line. When Toulouse move the ball out towards their wingers or outside centres, if anybody gets their hands free or through there, if there's any sort of a line break, he's running that inside line so much. And he scores tries, a lot of tries for France and Toulouse like that. So you've got to be very careful. You can't just stop him. But I think collectively across the board, when he puts his hands in the ball, you've got to be really disciplined and stay connected, because he can step you as well.
I was fascinated, Quinny, listening to Brian O'Driscoll chatting to Adrian on the show last night, where he was talking about Munster maybe needing a proper number 12 in that centre pairing, and he kind of compared it to himself and Jonathan Davies, I think, in the Leinster of 2013. Interested just to get your take on that.
Yeah, well, I think they've... Obviously, Chris Farrell is not there, and Fekitoa, hasn't kind of hit the heights that they would have wanted. So there is... you feel, I think Rory Scannell has played well in the last couple of weeks. He looks a lot fitter. He looks he looks to have some confidence back. But you need more depth there. You need options. You need to be able to change that up during the game as well. And Munster don't have that luxury of that depth at the moment. So, Malachi Fekitoa hasn't played in the last couple of weeks. He has been available, so he's not kind of fitting into the system. And that's a disappointment when you go and sign a player of his calibre and having, played for New Zealand and been a top international when he's played. He doesn't seem to, be impressing the coaches there and doing the job. And I don't know the ins and outs of why he's not getting selected, but they're obviously playing with a system where they're trying to keep the ball alive and keep more continuity, and they feel that Rory Scannell is helping that system and able to slot into that system. So whether it's more understanding from Malachi Fekitoa and to buy into what they're trying to do there, but it's probably, for Drico to talk about the centre partnership, he's an expert in that, I think. And obviously, you'd love to have, without being disrespectful to Rory Scannell, I think he's shown the last couple of weeks that he is a quality player and he can step up. As I said, he looks a lot sharper. But when you look at the other teams that potentially could win this competition, there's international players right across the board, top class international players. So there's a little bit of a depth issue there, as there is probably in the front row for Munster. And we saw that when they played Toulouse in May, the power and the physicality and the type of players that Toulouse can bring off the bench. But he's doing a really good job at the moment. And I think that's they've played much better in the last couple of weeks. And you think of Anton Frisch at outside centre. The more time you can get the ball in his hands at the moment, I think, the better for Munster.
Who wins it, in a word, Quinny, if you can?
Who wins it? And what I've seen the last couple of weeks, I think Munster can get a result here against all the odds, really. I think they can possibly win this one.
Yeah, hard to back against them at home. Racing Leinster, Le Havre tomorrow. It's a game that's live and off the ball. They're obviously Racing away from their home. I know you've been impressed with Racing's improvement up front. Enough for them to get the job done?
Yeah, you can never say that against Leinster, can you? Because of their ability and their quality. They're favourites for this competition. I think you'd fancy Leinster and probably Saracens, Toulouse, maybe Clermont, La Rochelle. There's about 5 of them again that kind of are sticking their heads above the water there. That can be potential winners. Maybe, who knows? We'll see. We might see a surprise or two along the way. But I think Leinster, obviously, their mentality and their quality can go to France and get a result. But I just think this one it could be tricky for them. and it's one of those ones where it's maybe about just getting the result, any sort of a result here, because sometimes with Leinster the expectation is because of that they're standing in this competition and they're the way they've challenged in the last number of years, and obviously won it on 4 occasions, that they go and they just get these kind of results. I think they'll be very mindful of the fact that they're going to play against a very physical side, a big side who Racing are second in the top 14, and they've a lot of power and they focus a lot on their maul this year, and that was an area where I think they underperformed, and I think Leinster's maul obviously is a very, very potent weapon for them as well. But I think physically, we always know that Racing have quality outside and they have big, strong, abrasive players. But collectively, I just think they've improved a fair bit this season, and they look like a side that have a bit of a hard edge to them up front. So it's going to be a physical game for Leinster, one that they're very capable of winning for sure. But and look, I think Leo Cullen, Stuart Lancaster, they won't mind as long as they get any sort of a result as regards getting the win on board. But it's on in Le Havre. It's moved from their own ground, the La Défense Arena in Paris. So it's a little bit of a strange scenario. There's a concert on there. Does that take away a little bit of that home advantage? And that's for Racing playing at home, it's actually moving a little bit now. So I still think Leinster will win the game, but I just think it's going to be a pretty physical challenge for them, and it might not be as easy as some think.
Yeah, they go concerts first, actually, at the stadium, which is an unusual take on things. We sail Ulster on Sunday as well, and Connacht Falcons in the Challenge Cup too. One before we leave you, just on the RFU announcement during the week, the completion obviously of the review, the publication of that, the announcement of the €1 million for facilities and pathways, I think is how they've worded it. Talking, as Shane said to Brian yesterday, he was talking about like €1 million is good and it's never going to be enough, but generally seen as a forward step, a positive step.
Yeah, well, the whole situation is much better than what it was. Okay, it's the same with the contracted players, the actual money that they're getting. Should it be more? There's always questions, but I think what the RFU have done here and what the report tells us is that there needs to be more investment, and that investment is going to happen. They're going to set up regional centres of excellence. There's going to be a big focus on improving the All-Ireland League. And I think that's where you've got to get the grassroots and the fundamentals of the game. And it's very similar in the men's game. And I've said this many times, if you get your club game and get more players playing, more competition, increase the numbers, increase the skill sets of young girls playing the game. And I think the one thing that jumps out for me is the centre of excellence that they're going to create in each province. That, there's a lot of good work going on there with coaching and development and all that kind of stuff. But the fact that they're really honing in on this now and trying to get more young girls who increase their skill levels at a young age, but also try and strengthen the clubs. It's very difficult when you have such dominance with the Dublin clubs in the All-Ireland League, and that's very, very obvious. So around the country, you increase the competition, you get a more meaningful All-Ireland League that's more balanced. That will take time, because it's difficult to just put money at that and think it's going to work straight away. It's going to take a little bit of time. But I think they're the obvious improvements that are needed, and the obvious changes that need to be focused on is to try and improve the All-Ireland League. And then, in a simple terms, you get more girls playing, you get more competitive games, and you get it more balanced. And that improves the opportunities for girls to play really, really competitively. And there's not one-sided fixtures that we see a lot of at the moment. So I think it's very, very welcomed. And I think, the RFU are putting into action now recommendations that have come out of the report. So from where we were with all the controversy before, I think these are positive steps and positive things that are happening for the women's game.
Yeah, all right, that is the name of the game. Thanks, William. Enjoy the games.
Thanks, lads.
Alan Quinlan is always with us on a Friday.